remember the last time you leapt and it worked out.
Yeah.
Like you knew to leap and then you leapt and it worked out. And it wasn't necessarily that it worked out because you saw physical evidence. Like I was saying, you know, when I became a coach, it wasn't like I made $1 million right away. It's been a lot of trial and error. And that feeling that like where I am on a coaching call and I've got goosebumps and I'm like so tapped in, and or somebody's crying or they're like, you changed my life. Like that doesn't lie, you know? So it's like, even if you don't see it in the external world, like you can feel it as a woman, you can feel that alignment, that yes, before you get the validation. And so when you start to connect the dots of having the intuitive hit, taking the leap of faith, and then feeling that satisfaction and like wholeness on the other side, and then you just do it over and over and over and over and over, it gets easier and easier.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching Certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this.
Hey, Badass Manifestors. I interrupt this regularly scheduled programming with a little announcement for you. In case you guys haven't met me, my name is Jenna Teague, and I am one of the head coaches of the Quantum Coaching Academy and co-facilitator with Ashley and basically right-hand lady in her business. And I'm here to make a special announcement. As you guys may know, Ashley announced on the podcast last week that we have an incredible, outside-the-box, amazing event coming up on Tuesday, September 14th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time called Next Top Coach. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever wanted to be in the audience at a reality show? Okay, if your hand is up, this event is for you. Have you ever wanted to see what coaching is really like from the inside? How it looks as a client? Okay, if your hand is raised, Next Top Coach is for you, because that's what we're doing. We're bringing you a reality coaching competition with 3 quantum coaches who are going to be tag teaming and coaching a client and getting real-time, in-the-moment feedback from our panel of judges. So our judging panel consists of Ashley, of course, head judge extraordinaire, myself, Jenna, and a celebrity guest judge that we are not announcing just yet. So you can get super excited to find out who it is. And we, as a panel, have over 10 years of coaching experience and expertise in addition to running the Quantum Coaching Academy. And if you're a coach, or if you think you want to be a coach, this event is absolutely for you. Just being in the energy of these quantum coaches and the judges is going to up-level your coaching by seeing how quantum coaches create transformation in real time with real clients. You'll get to hear nuggets of gold from the judges that you can use with your own coaching clients. You can implement them right there. And you're going to learn how to be an even more effective coach. Skills galore, tricks of the trade that you can pick up as we go. And you'll just be a fly on the wall for a really powerful coaching session. What is better than that? Seeing people transform in real time. And our amazing coaches, which you can read about them on our opt-in page where you can sign up for the event, are Sandra Coetzee, Emelina Schmaltz, and Julie Hagen, all graduates of the Quantum Coaching Academy, all successful coaches in their own right. Sandra coaches around skin picking. Emelina is a manifestation and mindset coach. And Julie is a lawyer turned high performance coach. So, all kinds of goodness there, all different aspects of the coaching world, all quantum coaches. And they're going to be coaching a client who's a current student of the Quantum Coaching Academy, which is going to be amazing. So, are you ready to sit courtside for this live event? Your ticket is free to get that front row seat. All you have to do is sign up at quantumcoachco.com/next-top-coach, and we'll put that in the show notes.
What's up, Gervase? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love how we connected and that you know where I live in Margate. Yeah.
Oh,
It's so
yeah.
cool.
I grew up going to Margate, so I know it very well. So cute. Love it.
I know, it's the best. It's like a gem here, secret gem that most people
It
don't know
is.
about.
I'm like, somebody lives there besides my mom. Who is this girl?
It's so funny. It's so funny. Small world, really. Cool. So share a little bit about who you are and like how you do life right now, like as a coach, as a hypnotherapist, as a mom, as a wife. Like, how do you do it all?
Yeah. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Define do it all, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I'm a mom of 3 little kids. And I've been a coach for about 7 years. It's evolved quite a lot over my 7-year journey. I used to proclaim from the mountaintops that I was only a coach for mothers. That was like my jam. And then in the last year and a half, it started to feel a little bit limiting. And I was like, what is this? What is this labeling? Like, what is this about? So I would say now I'm really, really passionate about helping modern women trust themselves, know themselves, understand themselves, hear their intuition. And one of the tools that I use to help women reprogram their thoughts, beliefs, and choices is hypnotherapy.
Cool.
So yeah, that's what I do. How I do life, I mean, I don't know. Like, honestly, I was just telling you, like, being a modern woman, I was literally doing a coaching call this morning, and I was saying how I was holding up my phone and I was like, I wonder, it's the greatest invention ever is technology and the access that we have. But I also wonder how our mothers, what their experience was like. In some ways, I feel so privileged. Like, we have so much access to so many more healing and tools and resources and connection. And then in other ways, I just feel like when I feel like my life is really hard or more complicated, it's because of things like technology, you know?
100%.
So, I mean, how do I do it? I have a nanny, which is very important to share. But also I work from home, and I feel like my business comes second to my kids. And I also know that that's a choice in a season. Like, I would be okay with putting my business first. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, this is the right way to do it or the wrong way. But I just kept noticing through choices I was making over and over and over, where I put my kids before my business. And then I would feel guilty that the business wasn't reflecting what I wanted it to. And so now I'm at this place where I'm like, oh no, it's fine. It's just, this is a season. And I put, this is the order that I put things in naturally, because it works with my flow and my personality and my parenting style. And then when things change, that'll be fine too,
Yeah, right. We don't need to limit ourselves of like, it always is going to be this way, because it can change, just like you said with your business. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's interesting because I'm in a season where I used to feel that I didn't know how I would be able to have a business and be a mom. And I think that's a really common thing. And I'm not a mom yet, but we are trying. And I have my own fertility journey story and all of that. And, everyone that listens knows my story because I've shared it. But like, it's really cool to have you as this mirror of being like, yeah, it's cool that like you're going to put your kids first and your business is still going to be there and you can have both.
Yes, that was honestly the impetus for starting my business, was the and, like, it can be motherhood. And I do think, though, the early years of having both, I've now looking back, I see that I was in victim mode sometimes, where I was like, oh, well, must be nice because it's like, I can't, right? And I like that victim feeling that is so disempowering and just not the way. It's just not the way. And so it feels really freeing. Like I want more women on the other side, like coming into motherhood, to know that you can enter it feeling like this is a choice. Like this is not happening to me. Like my kids are not
Yeah,
happening to me.
right.
And also, like, there's not one way. Like some women, like their work is everything and it comes first, and that's totally okay, you know? And then some women, it feels different. And I just feel like if women just give each other permission to just do it in the way that feels good for you, A, and B, notice where there's choice, right? So like you're not a victim, but also you get to make it how it works for you, then we got no problems. There's no problems.
Yeah, I love that. And like, I feel like if you were to define like the modern woman,
Mhm.
that probably would be some sort of part of the definition of like being able to realize that you have the choice
Yes.
to live life. I'm curious, like what would be your definition of that?
Yeah, I think, well, I like did this whole podcast episode about this where I was like, being a modern woman is such a privilege. And I feel like it just means you have access, you have privilege. I'm like really, I try really hard not to like bypass, systemic racism, things like that. But I know like from where I speak on my platform, I'm like a white woman of privilege. I've got access, I've got resources, I've got technology, I've got a nanny, I've got all of these things. And so I feel like being a modern woman is just using the what I call like the buffet of resources that we have access to. Whereas, you know, our mothers might not have had maybe it wasn't as easy to have a nanny, or maybe there was a stigma, or they obviously didn't have technology. So I think being a modern woman is just like being at that buffet of, okay, the modern world, like what do we got? Like what's here, and like what do I want to eat?
I love that so much. Yes. And not judging yourself for it, I think is a huge thing. Cause
Totally.
I think judgment, it's like, okay, you can be the modern woman and you can have it all. And you are also probably going to like heavily judge yourself.
Totally. Yeah, that's why I'm so careful to be like, whatever you put first, good for you. Just own it. Just own it,
Right.
own it, own it. Because the more, there's always somebody that's out there that's watching you that you're a mirror for, that's like, oh, she's putting her work before her kids and she's happy and her kids are thriving, and like everybody wins when you honor your needs and your unique energy and personality first. But we think
Mhm.
that if we sacrifice ourselves, I don't know. It's just this whole thing that I always think comes back to owning it.
Owning it. Yes. Owning the fuck out of it.
Yes.
And not like, so with that, like really owning it and standing your ground and saying, this is how I choose to live my life.
Hmm.
You know, I'm immediately confronted with like that feeling of, but what if someone's gonna have something to say. It doesn't matter. You just have to keep owning it.
Yes. Oh, they will definitely have something to say. They will. Count on it.
How how long has it taken you to like, have you always owned it, or how long has it taken you to like get to this point?
That's a good question. I When I look back at the last 10 years of my life, I think whenever I was somewhere I thought I was owning it, and
Mhm.
now I think since having my third is a year and a half, something happened after that in the last year and a half that was like alchemy. And I like to believe that, our children choose us, and I just always knew that I was like, 3 kids is it for me. Like that's the magic number. And I like to believe that it's because I knew, like my soul knew that to learn the lesson that I needed to learn, I was going to need 3, because I was such a perfectionist and I was such a people pleaser, and like the fear of disappointing others or being off-putting was, I mean, like felt like death to me.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was the gift of my third child, which I also say, like, I have so much compassion for you, like fertility journey. Like, I'm not trying to be like, blah, blah, blah. But I just think for me, my journey has been understanding that with a third child, the bandwidth went. And so there was just no more space for my own bullshit. like, that's how I experienced it. I don't think this is a recipe. I just think for me, for my soul's curriculum, this is what it had to be, because I can like struggle through for a really long time before I'll change. And so, like I said, I thought I was owning it. And then as soon as I had the third kid and then COVID, I really had this opportunity to really dig my heels in and be like, all right, are you going to fucking do this? Or are you going to fucking do this? Like, what's it going to be? Who are you going to be? What's your legacy? Like, what kind of a leader are you going to be? What kind of a mother are you going to be? It's go time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to get any easier than this. So it's like shit or get off the pot kind of a feeling.
Yep.
So to answer your question, I would say a solid 10 years.
That's it. That's so great. How can our listeners access that in 3 easy steps?
No,
That's amazing.
Coaches, like the whole point of coaches is it's a shortcut. It's like you get to accelerate all of these lessons that take coaches, years or lifetimes to learn. I feel like women that I work with, they'll have these shifts and I'm like, oh my God, that took me so much longer to learn. But that's what's so cool about working with a coach is like you get to calibrate to their success and pace. And so it's a shortcut. So don't worry about the 10 years, everybody. You're good.
I think, no, that's a really good point. I think that that's like the beauty of awakening. Like we're helping each other awaken, and some people are just asleep for a little bit longer. And I think everybody has like a wake up date where they have this like level of awareness that kicks in, and it can come in layers for sure. But I think that is what we're doing for sure. And I like what you said about like, this is not a recipe. Like 3 kids for me is not your recipe as well.
Yes.
And I haven't said it like that, but I kind of been telling people like when I share my journey with them, I'm like, well, this is just my learning. Like this is what the lessons are for me with my journey. And like, it doesn't mean it's for you. You know what I mean? Because it's different. We all have that different curriculum. And I feel like that could be a good kind of next topic to go into is like really understanding the curriculum that you're being taught in life journey. I don't really know where to go from there, but
oh my God,
take it away.
I do.
Yeah. Go for it.
Favorite topics, because so the first mentor that was a coach that I ever worked with, Cora Poage, love her. She gifted me this book called Loyalty to Your Soul, and it's all about spiritual psychology. And I was just waking up. It was my wake up date, and I was like, I think there's something here, but like, what is intuition, and what is a life coach, and like all of this stuff, right? And I read this book, and I remember like some of it is kind of, I don't know, it's like written by an older couple or something. But the concept of spiritual psychology is that every soul has their own curriculum, and that you come to Earth to learn what you're meant to learn. I kind of I take a piece of everything that works for me, and I meld it into my own lessons. But I just feel like we're all here to learn self-love, self-acceptance, self-trust, also of others as well. Like, because when you can totally accept yourself without judgment, then you can do that for others. But I do think there's different vehicles to learn it. And so, for me, the vehicle, I always had this feeling. It's like 3 kids is really it's gonna do something for me. I just knew it was like this knowing. And even when I had my second, I remember she was like, being a mother has been very challenging for me. Like the newborn stage, like I've always just been like, oh, this is I'm on my knees. Like, how do I do this? Because they just cry a lot.
Yeah. They don't sleep.
They don't sleep. They cry a lot. You can't like go to happy hour as easily. So you can still do stuff, but I just know those have been my really like testing moments. And I remember calling my best friend, like almost in tears, when my second was like 2 weeks old. And I was like, I know there's one more. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just know there's one more. And I want to be done. Like, I really want to be done. I wish I could just be one of those women that's like done. And I know like in my core that there's one more. And knowing that, like, I know that sounds insane to somebody that's like, I would just love one, and of course.
I get it.
But it was like, why am I choosing this unique like flavor of hard. Like why this? I want to grow my business instead. I don't want to just keep having kids and then you have the third kid and it's like, oh yeah, I had to really, really get to the root of it to really learn the lesson. And so that's what I think is so beautiful about the premise of spiritual psychology is like every soul has its own curriculum and the vehicle by which it's delivered is like your unique cocktail of challenge and you can trust that on the other side is such great growth and expansion and like your ultimate wake up, you know?
Yeah, it's the hardest things that bring us the biggest lessons, the biggest rewards, the biggest awakening. Like it's so fucking true.
So true.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. It's really cool. It's so interesting. And I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast and have not said this to many people at all, but like, just like you knew you were going to have 3, like I always knew that I was going to have problems getting pregnant.
Oh,
like,
so interesting.
I don't know how I knew that. Like, and it wasn't like I was creating it. It wasn't like I was worried about, I wasn't manifesting it. Like it was just a knowing like, that's going to be a challenge. Like I knew it and I'm like, all right, I'll deal with it when it comes. Like, you know what I mean? But it's literally been like the most transformational time. So it's, it's so interesting how, cause our souls know.
Yep. They're like, this is the thing for her. She's gotta, And I do think it's like, when you say, how do we know? I mean, we know so much that we don't acknowledge all the time. So I think I used to be like, I know it's so weird. I'd say that to my husband all the time. And now I'm like, you're the weird one. You're the weird one. Everybody else who doesn't think that, of course, we have all of this data and knowing inside of our bodies is crazy because you're missing out on all this intel.
Yeah. Yeah. We know so much. We are God. Do you subscribe to that? I subscribe to that.
I've never actually thought about it in that way, but I can get down with it. You know what I mean?
It's like we're made in the image and likeness of God, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yes. I feel like what resonates more for me is energy. So I think of it's something like I feel God. Like I feel energy and I feel God and I feel spirit or universe or whatever you want to call it. And I used to get really hung up on like, what do I call it? Or
what is the name?
Yeah, like what's the religion and what do I call it? And now for me, it's more of like less what you said, which I just think it's whatever.
Yeah.
God is what is it? There's a quote in Untamed and she says, God is the water, religion is the glass, and I just feel like the label, whatever works for you is good. But for me, God is this feeling of oneness. It's like I feel that connection to something bigger than me that is also within me.
Yeah, I feel that too. 100%. A book that really helped me kind of get into it. And he uses the word God, but it really resonated with me when like throughout the journey of the book was Conversations with God. Have you ever read that by Neil Donald Walsh?
No, it's like on my list. One of my girlfriends was talking about it.
It's a good one. It's not about religion at all, but his like word for source, universe, whatever is God. But it's just, it's so beautiful the way that he writes about that oneness, that connection, that voice inside of our head, in our heart, and all of it. It's like, it's really powerful. Definitely give it a read.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of people tell me, especially like I'm here in the South, there's a lot of religion down here, and a lot of women at first are very like, oh, what are you peddling over there?
Yeah.
And they'll listen, and they've told me like, oh, like what you're saying is exactly what I believe, but I use the word God, or like you know what I mean? Like the way that they're relating to it is a little different, which I think is really interesting.
I think that's really interesting too. And I actually have a student right now I have Quantum Coaching Academy. It's a certification program, and she's very like religious. But after we talked about it, she's like, well, it sounds like I believe the same thing as you believe. And I'm like, okay, great. I don't think anything will conflict, but I wanted to bring it up about like, we talk about the universe and energy and source and all the things, quantum.
Yes.
Totally.
I used to, I don't know if you felt this way, but I was definitely in the closet about like my spirituality, because I think I was still kind of figuring it out. And then I recently did a masterclass and I was like, no, I think on day 1 of this masterclass, I have to share like, hey, there's 3 things you're going to need to accept if you're going to stick through this masterclass. And like the third thing was like, God. So like we're going to call it God or source or energy or something, but like there is a higher power, a co-creator, and I'm going to reference it a lot. So if you can't get behind that, speak now or forever hold your peace, and it's totally fine. But you're definitely not going to like the content in this course. You know,
I love how like upfront you are about it. It's just like,
yeah, but I used to not be.
Own it.
I used to not be. I would like tiptoe around it, and then I was like, this is dumb. Like the people
just say it.
Yeah, the people who need it will find it, and if it's not for you, keep on walking. That's totally fine.
I remember the first talk that I ever gave was at my yoga studio, and it was completely free. And of course, like had a big community there. So a lot of people came, and I was going over the content with the owner of the studio, who's my friend and my teacher. And she was like, no one's going to understand this word vibration. You need to change it. Like, no one's going to get what that means. Like, it's just not like, it just doesn't land. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know how else to explain it.
That's like, as coaches, we're like always with other coaches, I think, and we're like following accounts and in masterminds, and then we forget, we like go out into the real world, and they're like, frequency, paradigm, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sovereign, like all these, I just feel like there's the buzzwords that we use, but yeah, it's good. We gotta also help be the gateway, you know?
Totally. I'm curious, have you ever worked with any plant medicine?
No, but one of my best friends is like obsessed, and she tells me about it all the time. And she's like, we got to get you. And I was like, I'm
scared. Well, it sounds like you get it without actually having to.
You know, she has different ways of accessing anyway. So I'm not surprised, because we also did, have you ever done a float tank?
Yeah, I love that.
I did a float tank, and it was like the worst hour of my entire life. And I was like, it's going to be so cool. Like, it's like you're in a dark tank. I was like, the door shuts and you're like in a coffin basically. And my husband is in the next one. And I did it because I was like, he needs different tools. And we came out and he was like, that was amazing. And I was like, I hated that. I don't need that to get to the place that you just got. So you float. I'm going to use my hypnotherapy. I'm going to go for a run. Yeah. Maybe meditate, do a little journaling, and we'll be even. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. I hated it the first time. I hated it. And I actually got like a little nauseous in there because you're like floating. Yeah. I'm like, oh. But wait, so what is your dynamic like with your husband? Like, is he very spiritual, or does he just like get it without needing to like be super spiritual? Like, what does he do?
Oh my gosh. I love this topic. So my husband is not, so he's very traditional is how I look at him. He's like all American baseball playing Jersey boy who also is a marine biologist. Like, he is literally a scientist. And I'm a life coach. And so it's really funny how our brains are opposites. He has always been more of a believer than I have. So we have had like debates in our early marriage where we'd be talking about like, I don't want to like trigger anybody, but like the Virgin Mary. And I was like, give me a break. How can you da, da, da? And he's the person that's like, oh, I don't think you should be saying this stuff to me. You're going to go to hell or something like that. And it always surprises me because that's the only time it comes up. It's not like he's praying beside the bed or we're going to church. It's just like internalized Catholicism kind of.
Yeah.
Which I get. Like, I grew up Catholic and most of my family's Catholic. But I just never felt the loyalty to those rules for some reason. Mm-hmm. But he's also super open-minded. So he has been my biggest support and my biggest fan. Like, he like reshares everything of mine on Instagram.
That's so sweet.
He's like 200 followers. Not even. I think it's like 50. He's like really but he like, you know, he is so proud of me, and it's really been, I think, like the lifeblood of our relationship, because for what I do, so many times I had to be like, hey, you know, or like getting a certification, like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And I'm going to talk to you about it, but I'm not really asking your permission. Like, I need to do it. You know
I mean? Exactly. Like, no, I am doing it.
Share money, and I respect you. So like, we're going to talk this through, but you know, he always gave me enough freedom to feel like we're in this relationship together and he's open to it, but we're so different. I don't even know if I just answered your question because I don't even know how, but like,
No, it's interesting.
there you go.
I love it. I love talking about these dynamics because a lot of people ask me like, oh, is Todd super spiritual with you? Like, da, da, da. Like it's different. Like it's different, but he supports the fuck out of me too.
Yeah.
Like that's beautiful. That's so beautiful that you have that. And I think that that's incredible that you guys have that dynamic and that he's just like your biggest cheerleader and like wants you to succeed. And like, I think it's amazing. Like I wish that for everyone. I really do. But it might not be your curriculum, so that's fine.
Yeah. Disclaimer. I love it.
Disclaimer, that might not be your curriculum. No, but I give credit to my husband for like like if it wasn't for his support financially and emotionally, like I wouldn't have been able to start my business.
Totally.
And
totally.
like
That's like, and that was the thing too, because when I had, like, I didn't share all of this, but like the reason I became a life coach is because when I had our first daughter, I went back to a corporate job that I was already kind of like meh, but I just couldn't figure it out. And I was so miserable. Like I was so miserable. I would like cry every morning when I dropped her off at daycare. Like it just was so out of alignment. And I just came home one day and I was like, I got to quit my job. And he was like, I think that's a good idea.
that's
He was like, you are not doing good and I can't take it anymore. And so, I mean, I told him at the time, I was like, I am going to hustle. Like we were a 2-income couple, family.
Yeah.
And so I hustled a bit, but at the end of the day, what we realized through trial and error, like very messy financial trial and error, was that like I really am more of a stay-at-home mom than I liked to admit at the time. I was like, no, actually, I would really just like to take the first year after my baby's baby's born, and just like be with them all the time, and then just work like a couple hours, like just a few coaching calls or something. And so, so anyway, he supported me big time financially. And I just kept being like, I promise you, this is going to work. But also, I don't want to sacrifice this other thing that feels really important to me at the time. And so he had to take big leaps of faith. And he is a big risk averse scientist. And I was like, I promise you, this coaching thing, it's totally going to pan out. I think it's my life's calling, my life's work, my God's work. Just stick with me. And it's like 5 years in, he's like, okay. Because I just kept having babies.
Are we there yet?
There. He literally looked at me like a couple months ago. He's like, I just realized like the way that your business is going, it's just going to get better because you're never going to get pregnant again. I was like, I know. Isn't that awesome?
That's amazing. That's incredible. That's incredible. And I love that you stuck with it though throughout those 5 years. Like I love that you were still able to take clients, we're still able to build, we're still able to like lay your foundation. And now it's just like, this.
Now it's rocket ship. Totally.
Rocket ship vibes.
I was learning. It was
good. It's so good. It's so good. I love that your husband did breath work with you too. Like, I mean, not breath work, the float tank, even if it wasn't.
I was like, he has not done breath work.
No, I was thinking that because I took my husband to do breath work and he actually really, really liked it.
Actually, that's a good idea because that friend that I was telling you about, Stephanie Berg, one of my close friends, she does breath work, and I could probably
introduce. Stephanie Burgos?
Stephanie Berg.
Oh, okay.
There's a Stephanie Burgos? That's so
funny. Yeah. And she also teaches breath work. And she's
what? That's so great.
I love how this podcast is just a really great conversation. It's amazing. It's just amazing. People are getting a lot out of this regardless because the energy here is
energy. Oh my God.
Okay, cool. So, wow, amazing. Well, we covered a lot. We covered owning it, your soul's curriculum, dynamics of like what it's like to be married to a life coach that has babies on babies. No, but I think it's proof that like you don't have to marry someone that's like on the same wavelength as you spiritually. It's okay to have that like contrast. And I think it all connects back to what we started with, which is really like being a modern woman and really owning who you are, owning how you are, who you be, like all of it. And I think that a lot of people are making these decisions to become coaches. Like I see it every day because people come into my program and they're like, okay, I'm ready to be a coach. I don't know if you work with people that are like stepping into that at all, but
Not many, no.
yeah. But it's like interesting to see people leaving their corporate jobs and leaving what they thought was the right path for them and really stepping into that leap of faith in their life.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
easy.
it's not easy, but it's like once you leap once and towards your soul's yes, I just feel like it feels so good. And then you do it again and again and again. And I feel like that's more of what I teach women to do is like, remember the last time you leapt and it worked out. Like
Yeah.
you knew to leap and then you leapt and it worked out. And it wasn't necessarily that it worked out because you saw physical evidence. Like I was saying, when I became a coach, it wasn't like I made $1 million right away. It's been a lot of trial and error. And that feeling that like where I'm on a coaching call and I've got goosebumps and I'm like so tapped in and or somebody's crying or they're like, you changed my life. Like that doesn't lie, So it's
Mhm.
like, even if you don't see it in the external world, like you can feel it as a woman, you can feel that alignment, that yes, before you get the validation. And so when you start to connect the dots of having the intuitive hit, taking the leap of faith, and then feeling that satisfaction and like wholeness on the other side, and then you just do it over and over and over and over and over, it gets easier and easier. Because as somebody who left corporate, I want to say that for your listeners, like it gets easier and easier, and it's so much bigger and better than like your highest high when you're out of alignment working a corporate job that you don't love.
Mm, yeah. And I think that when you were describing that feeling of like you were doing something that was just so out of alignment, that is the feeling that it's nudging you. It's nudging you to remember who you really are and what you're really here to do. Even if you don't know what that is at that point. It's okay to like listen to that feeling and just recognize that this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel like it's my life. I mean, I think about what's her name? Sarah Blakely with
Oh yeah.
Spanx and
Yes.
how she was like selling the fax machines door to door and she's like, this isn't my life. This is not, I don't think this is it. it's like, if what you're doing right now is it or not. And it's
Yes.
okay if it's not.
It's the how. Women get so tripped up on the how.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of Disney references because I
Love it.
have kids. But if you've seen Frozen 2, there is a very pivotal scene where Anna thinks that her sister Elsa has died and she's really down in the dumps. And she sings the song about doing the next right thing. And I really think this is a good opportunity to remind people that's what it is. Like we think our ego is like, what's the plan? And then we make this stupid ass plan and then we do the next right thing. And the plan, it's like a house of cards that just
Yeah.
tumbles. And you're like, you're like picking up the cards, like, but the plan. And literally your soul's like, no, dummy. No, you don't even have the plan. You can't even imagine how amazing the plan could be. But
Yeah.
you got to just do the next right thing and trust that after that, the step after that will be presented to you. And then the step after that will be presented to you. And the step after that. And it's like, living in the moment, in presence, I guess it's also circles back to that, but it's just really challenging. Again, I think modern women with technology, we're like, we want instant gratification. And so we're all about the plan, making the plan and executing the plan, even though the plan didn't feel good 8 steps ago, we just keep going with it instead of because we don't trust that if you just abandon the plan and do the next right thing, it gets to be even better than your plan.
Mm. Yeah, because the universe has that bigger vision and your higher self has a bigger vision than you could ever have for yourself. Like
Exactly.
if you were to say to yourself 5 years ago,
Mhm.
like you wouldn't have known where you were going to be at this point, and neither would I. Like it's worked out way different, in better ways than I could have imagined, and I'm sure it has for you, even though you have
Yeah.
3 kids, of course. Like with your 3 kids,
Yeah, that I knew.
part of the plan.
So many things, yeah. And even like the hypnotherapy piece, like
Yeah.
when I knew instantly when I experienced hypnotherapy, I was like, oh, fuck, damn it, I got to certify in this thing. This is so annoying. I'm going to do another thing. But I just knew it was like instant. Like, I know this is it. But if you had told me 5 years ago, like, I remember meeting with a hypnotherapist for coffee. And I was just like, I don't know. What do you do? What, why am I here? Like, what are we talking about? I feel really bad at the time because I was just so apathetic about it. And now it's part of what I do. So life is weird. Life is weird.
I know, right? It's trusted. Life is weird, trusted. That is your new slogan. That is the title of this podcast. I'm just kidding. Life is weird, trusted. I love it so much. This is so fun. Thank you so much. Okay, I have to ask you, what makes you a badass manifester?
Ooh. Maybe that everything always works out for me, and everything I have, I like desired. I don't know. I really feel like I'm an exceptional manifester, but I feel like it works very well when I don't try. It's just like, I am the person that believes that unicorns exist. So I literally will be like, I'm looking for, if only I could have this kind of a house in this price range in this neighborhood, da, 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 da. And then I'll like look for it and it won't be there. And I'm like, well then I don't want it because like, that's the only thing I want. And then it like lands on my lap. And I'm like, cool, guess we're moving. Or, you know, like I only want a guy who checks this box. And then he like sits next to me at a dinner like a week later. And I'm like, wow, that's my husband. Cool.
This thing works.
Yeah, like it really has worked out for me. But I do think for me, the biggest piece of being good at manifesting is like believing that things get to work out for me.
Yeah.
Like truly believing that I get to have what I desire. Because like the universe seeks to give it to me. And so why wouldn't I, you know? And so that's just kind of.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. There.
That's it.
That's it.
Mic drop. I resonate with that so much. And yeah, I hope that it resonates with all of you because it really can be that for you as well. Like it can be. We're all made with the same fabric of creation. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy with us. And where can everyone find you and connect with you and learn more from you?
I guess you could go to Instagram is a good spot. At Gervase Kolmos is my handle. And then I've got the Champagne Society podcast. And
Cool.
That's really where I spit a lot of this. So come check us out on the podcast for sure.
Awesome. And tag us. Let us know what your fave part was. Thanks for being part of this awesome and weird and truthful conversation. We appreciate it. Bye, guys. Woo. We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.